Welcome, everybody, on another podcast episode here. And today we have another Titan as a guest, and it's Abul Hussain. Hi, man. How are you?
Hey, how are you? How are you, Stefan? Thank you so much for inviting me on.
No.
I'm pleased to be speaking to other Titans about,
Yeah,
how they can improve their business.
awesome. So, to explain who you are the host of the SMMA Mastermind podcast, right?
That's right.
Explain a little bit what the podcast do and who are your
Sure.
guests.
So the SMMA Mastermind is something that I really started in June last year as a lockdown project because, I saw a lot of people in the agency space who wanted to start an agency business or grow an agency business, join and converse in these Facebook groups where they were given the wrong advice by some people, or they were being given advice which I know definitely wouldn't work because of my experience over the last 15 years in this space, as someone who has worked in an agency environment, who has been on the management team of an 8-figure agency, who has started his own agency, who has then moved on to being a consultant, right? So I've got a bit of experience where I can sniff out bullshit advice when it's being given. So, for a number of years, I actually wanted to start a Facebook group where people can get legitimate advice, right, that they can apply rather than they go into a group, then some guy in some other part of the world who doesn't know what they're talking about is giving the wrong advice to people. It's only when the pandemic kicked in and the lockdown started in the UK, I'm like, you know what, I need to do this now because I'll never get it done. So I launched the Facebook group and I launched the podcast. And really, the podcast is for agency owners who are looking to scale their business to at least $20,000 revenue, or pounds or euros per month. So it's really aimed at people who have not reached the 20K mark yet. Now, often that is, the pre-stage of when they are hiring a lot of people and bringing in systems and SOPs and processes, because they can put in a lot of hustle and a lot of hard work and get to 10, 15, 20K often. And it's after that's when the problems come in, where people like you can help them
Yeah.
with their situation. So that's in a nutshell what the SMMA Mastermind is about. We've got about 2,700 members in the Facebook group. A lot of them are what I call dreamers, people who have probably watched a YouTube video or a YouTube ad from a young kid driving a Lamborghini who said start an agency, and they go and they find the group. But a good proportion of our members are actual agency owners, and it's a great place for them to network and share advice with other like-minded individuals.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you say, that you really created a group because everybody, that had some notion about digital marketing just started his own agency when COVID hit, because everything was going online. So indeed, a lot of people, a lot of young kids started their own agency. But Abul, what would you say is bad advice?
What I mean by bad advice is basically someone would explain their situation in a Facebook group and they're asking for advice and what they really need. So they might be posting some performance results from a Facebook campaign and they're asking for people how can they optimize the campaign. Then you have, in a lot of these unregulated groups with thousands and thousands, maybe tens of thousands of members, you have people coming and just throwing random advice at the post, right? Whether it works or not. So these are people regurgitating what they have watched from a YouTube video, what they have read in another course, or what they have read in another Facebook group, where they have no digital marketing experience themselves, but they are essentially trying to be helpful, but giving advice like a parrot, repeating what they have heard. And those of us who have been in the digital marketing world for a number of years, we know that every situation is unique and requires obviously a bit more of nuanced answer than do this, do that, giving copy and paste answers to people, which if they apply it, they're not going to get any better results. And you can see from the type of responses that they are getting from people that people are throwing a lot of theory at them and not practical advice that they could use, which is why I wanted to build a community of genuine practitioners. So you will see that my group is highly regulated. And that is because when I see someone giving dodgy advice, that advice gets removed, because we don't need another Facebook group full of people who have watched a YouTube video and they think they are a media buyer or something like that.
Yeah, because there's more to it than just those little tidbits of advice. Even wrong or right, a lot of people forget that setting up a structure is actually what you need to do first of all. Okay,
Absolutely.
you have a great idea. Everybody has great ideas, but putting those ideas to work is another whole thing. The get rich quick. That's what I wanted to say. It's
Yeah.
something that a lot of people think will happen if they get some of that advice, but it's not like that.
Unfortunately not, which is why a lot of people come into this space and they'll pay $500 or $1,000 for a course. They'll realize that actually sending 20 emails is not going to get me to $10,000 a month or whatever their income target is. And then they stop and then they quit, and because the investment, $500, $1,000, it is not, for most people, it is not earth shattering. They can recoup that money by doing their job. So they move on to the next shiny object, because a lot of people, when they realize the amount of work required to build a business, to build an agency, they're like, actually, you know what? This is not what I signed up for. I thought I'll send a couple of emails. Someone will say, take my money, and I will find some guy in India who will provide the service, and I will collect the check in the middle and be very rich to buy my own island 12 months down the line, when the reality is so different.
Yeah, and I know the notion of drop servicing, like they call it, like where you are just indeed like the middleman between the one that does the job and the customer. But even doing that requires more than just being the middleman. You need to
Absolutely
be a businessman. You need to show up. You need to follow up. You need to build structures, even in that kind of a model.
You need some expertise. Absolutely. Yeah. If you have not been that middleman, let's call the middleman the project manager. If you have not been a project manager who can hold a conversation with the different contractors, and when a contractor is telling you the truth or they're giving you bullshit excuses, because this is what happens when you're running a project, right? If you can't distinguish between what is legitimately a problem or a failure outside of your contractor's control and something that is due to a competence issue, right? When things are great and your contractor is generating leads for your clients and you're all on cloud 9, brilliant, everybody's happy, the money comes in. When the contractor messes up and then they can't fix it and you do not know how to advise them, right, on how to be able to apply some different changes or change their methodology because you have no knowledge, then you are stuck. What happens then? The guy in India, he runs off. And that's the end of your agency.
Yeah, and you get a bad customer, you get a bad name, and by the time that you know it, you're not even able to do anything new with your name attached to it. So it's also about making sure that you're not getting burned as well. And
absolutely.
Now let's talk about building those structures, Abul. What do you think is the most important ones, like the core foundation that you need to make sure that you get right from the start to be able to get to that 20K a month and beyond that?
So when I speak to the people that I work with, people that I generally advise or people who are my one-to-one clients, I tell them the best way to look at a business is it is a chain of different processes linked together. Right. So you have a process. So where I primarily focus is on the prospecting side, because a lot of people don't know how to generate sales. Often they get into building an agency because they were a freelancer and they've got word of mouth referrals and whatnot. But when that business dries up, they really don't know how to go out and bring customers in. So I focus on that, so that's one process that you need to figure out. How can you generate leads consistently that you can then turn into customers? Now, but that's only, it's in equilibrium with your service delivery, because you can generate customers, but if you can't deliver the service, then you are totally stuck. So you need to work, I would say, to build the first thing that you probably need to look at is, how can I build out my service delivery model? What structure and processes do I need there? Now, some people, for example, they will do everything themselves. They will be the media buyer, and then they'll do the planning, and they'll buy the ads, and they'll do the optimization and reporting. But then what happens is, when they wear too many hats, they work in the business rather than on the business, they get burnt out. So what they really need is a standard operating procedure that they can train people on. If they are going to go and hire VAs, they need a process that they know works. Either they have, used this process elsewhere, or they have got the process of a consultant who knows what they are doing. And then ideally, if they are not going to be the project manager, they need someone who is a seasoned project manager, who you can find for a couple of $100s a month to actually work for you exclusively, whether they're from the Philippines or from India. Because you need to remember, a lot of back-end operations are handled in India and in the Philippines, where you can hire someone on a full-time basis by paying $500, because that is a very competitive salary over there. And once you have your project manager who can actually help you to recruit the right people to do the right roles, in that process, and even shape your delivery process to a certain degree, because they would have had some agency experience, hopefully, to be able to build out the process for you. Once you are confident that you have the mechanism to deliver, and not just deliver for one or two people, but to be able to deliver at scale, so that, your operations manager will be able to go and find other people, find other freelancers. If you get more clients signed on, that you can bring on a media buyer with a little, maybe a years of experience, or, a little bit of experience, who can look at your SOP and this is how we run campaigns for Stefan's agency, and this is how we optimize, and this is how we report back to the clients. And then obviously they need to help you build that culture of reporting, whether it's introducing, the daily stand-ups, and kind of, working. If you are obviously working in an agile way, then you have so many other agile principles that you could bring in around communication, about having a backlog of them, maybe building out additional SOPs. That could be something that the team work on, that they co-create, because something that your team co-creates will be more productive for them than something that you end up imposing on them. Because agile is all about collaboration, right? And it's about being iterative and being fast enough to realize when something is not going right, and then being able to change accordingly. So those are the two main areas, the two big process areas that someone needs to fix. Your prospecting system and your delivery system. The delivery system is a lot more important, because I see this in Facebook all the time. Someone goes and they'll sign a client, and they'll be like, come to a Facebook group, and they'll be like, I've just signed my first client. He's paid me $1,000. He's a roofer. What do I do next? And those are the people who are burning the market, right? Because the business owner will be left with a sour taste in their mouth. So when a legitimate agency owner approaches them who can deliver the results, they'll be like, you guys are all the same. So from a processes perspective, what you should be looking to do is build a system where everyone is a cog. No one person should be able to bring your system down. Everyone is replaceable, including yourself. And this is how you achieve business efficiency. Even your project manager that you might hire, or you might even call them your operations manager or your service delivery manager or something like that. They can't wield too much power where you're totally leaving them without knowing what they are up to. You need to be able to hold them to account as a manager, as the CEO of your business. If you want to be the agency CEO, you need to be obviously thinking on that level rather than micromanaging them on a day-to-day basis. It's about setting the macro objectives and then making sure that they are making progress towards those macro objectives.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better, Abul. I mean, this is so much value that you're dropping, and it's true. And what a lot of business owners forget to do, if they start building those systems, if they start building that team, is indeed becoming the business owner, right? Is they might have set up the systems, right? They know the delivery system, they know the prospecting system, they have the team, and still they feel like they are just having to do so many things. But usually it's because they included themselves within the delivery as well,
Mm-hmm.
and within all the project management, even if they have those kind of roles already. And they fail to switch from the marketer that they are towards the business owner.
Yeah.
And like you said, you cannot be the bottleneck. If you're still the bottleneck for yourself, for the
Yeah.
business, you will not be able to scale beyond 20K, 30K, or you will just burn out, like you said. So I believe 100% that once they reach a certain stage, they
Yeah.
need to be convinced, and they need to be changing their mindset towards being a business owner. And I'm now like creating a little bit of a time management course. And one of the things that I say there is you can free up your time, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you do good time management, you can free up your time. If you build the systems and the team and so on, you can free up your time.
Yeah.
But a lot of people say that, right? Freeing up time, oh, that sounds wonderful. But they forget that that time that you free up is the time that you need to spend to build your business.
Yes.
You free up time from fulfillment. You free up time from hand-holding your team.
It's shifting your focus, isn't
Yeah.
it? To the stuff that really matters. You need to start thinking like a CEO more than a marketer. And I think that is often the case with a lot of people when they start a business and they have a media buyer background or they have an SEO manager background. They just get too kind of involved in the day-to-day nitty-gritty stuff that they are not focusing on improving processes that lead to better results and better delivery for their clients. At the end of the day, even being an expert in SEO or kind of Facebook ads, right? There is so much value that you can actually add doing the actual work, and then you are at the mercy of algorithms, right? I mean, at the end of the day, Facebook ranking, the signals are changing on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis. There's so much that you can do, which is following best practice. Same with Facebook ads, right? Some days the algorithm throws everything out the window, and then you're like, what the hell is going on? Why is my CPM higher? Why is my cost per lead higher? But what you need to understand is, as long as your team are following best practice, you should leave them alone, because you cannot be running around on a day-to-day basis trying to figure out what happened when the algorithm is not in your favor.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're gonna get frustrated if you're always reacting on those things.
Well,
Always
that's
thinking
it.
like, don't be reactive. Be a business owner. Be proactive, but just let your team run the show. Make sure they can run the show by providing them the systems and the training and the coaching. Another thing that a lot of people forget, that you as a leader, you have to coach.
Absolutely.
You don't have to tell them what to do. Otherwise, you have
No.
the right kind of team, I would say. But anyway.
And absolutely, and then a lot of people talk about giving scripts and all of that kind of stuff. And I think, that is very counterproductive, because giving someone a script is not helping them to learn how to think. Which is why I believe in giving people frameworks and letting them figure out a script that works for them, as long as they are within the framework, right?
100%, yeah. Yeah, and talking about frameworks, like for me, I come from the corporate world and I've seen a lot of agile principles and frameworks. And for me, that's something that is super applicable to marketing agencies, because there's so much moving parts in there. There's so much speed that needs to be created because it's a fast changing world. What would you feel like the message to marketing owners that how would they how should they approach applying agile?
Hmm. That's interesting. I think, well, initially they need to get an understanding of what agile is
Mhm.
and what agile isn't, right? I think
Yeah.
that's the first place to start, because a lot of people think they understand what agile is, but then they have a very limited view of how it
Mm.
actually works. I think what people need to really understand and get to know is the culture that is behind agile, and how do you incorporate that culture within your existing framework. Because if you have been working in a very much a waterfall environment, and people are used to these systems and they are okay with these systems, they
Mm.
might not be the most efficient, but they're happy where they are. But introducing any sort of change, whether it's in a big team or a small team, always kind of rattles a couple of nerves. So, as the leader, as you say, as the business owner, as the leader, they need to be the champions initially of Agile, and how that will improve productivity. And improved productivity always means better opportunities for people who work within the business. It doesn't mean you're going to be replaced. It just means as we grow, you can grow, your role can grow, and your salary can grow. So I think the first place to really understand is to do some sort of an audit in their existing framework. And they might want to get in an agile coach or an agile consultant to look at their ways of working, and then come up with a couple of different solutions, some recommendations in terms of how they can bring in agile working practices. But really, I see agile as a way of life, and I know a lot of people are fans of other different, systems and methodologies, Kanban, all of that kind of stuff. But, I think agile can be applied in any part of your life, because at the heart of it, being agile is all about making continuous improvement. No matter how small it is, you're constantly iterating, which is what I love when speaking to my clients, because often people seek perfection. And what
Mhm.
Agile tells you is you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be a little bit better every single time, every single sprint, every time that you're doing something. Focus on getting a little bit better until you get to a point where you're fully optimized. And I think for someone to really adopt and bring that culture into their business, they need to kind of get an understanding, whether it's through a YouTube video or speaking to people like yourself who specialize in agile ways of working.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's education that they need in terms of what is agile and how it can help them. But I try to not even talk about agile. It's like you said. I just tell them like it's continuous improvement.
Hmm.
You have to have that compound effect of getting better every single day. And like an example, I was talking to somebody who wanted to start an email campaign, cold
Right.
email campaign to get some leads, right? And he was constantly procrastinating on the fact, yeah, but these emails, will they be good enough? Will people react? Uh, I should get a better copywriter. I need to invest more time into that.
Yeah.
And I just told him, but why? I mean, why do you think it needs to be perfect? You don't even know if people even like what you're talking about. So
Yeah,
just put
absolutely.
them out there, put them
You
out,
don't
and
even
they
know if
will.
it's going to end up in people's inbox, right?
Yeah, yeah. How would you even know? And it's the same with everything. It's the same with
Yeah.
organic posts. It's the same with videos, with any kind of marketing that you do. You just put it out there, and the way that the world works, it's gone 5 seconds later anyway. So if
Yeah.
it doesn't work, just improve it and do it again. And
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it really comes down to, mindset that I
mm,
find more than anything, and if you've read any of the mindset books, there's a great book by Carol S. Dweck. I forget the title, but there's this one amazing book on mindset, and it talks about the fixed mindset and the growth mindset,
mm,
where the fixed mindset thinks everything is fixed. People are born with talent, and that is it. Either you're either good at what you do or you're bad at what you do. Whereas you have the growth mindset that says, with a little bit of practice, you can keep on improving. And I think often with these business owners, you need to do a bit of mindset coaching initially before you start talking about all of these other systems, because getting someone into the growth mindset, that is where you will find that they are more open and optimistic and welcoming to different ideas and different ways of working, where they're stuck in the growth in the fixed mindset. It's because I have been taught to approach things this way, I am approaching it this way. There's no kind of independent thinking much beyond that.
Yeah, and it doesn't help them that they get the advice from people who supposed to know what they're talking about, but then it doesn't work, and it just hits them.
Unfortunately, everyone's a consultant these days. The thing is, the market is full of consultants. Some people know what they're talking about, others don't. So when someone is obviously kind of approaching an agency owner or any business owner, they should really do their due diligence. Has this person become a consultant because they've done Sam Ovens's accelerator course or whatever, and is that their whole experience, watching a couple of videos that they are very good at regurgitating, or have they been able to deliver solutions for a similar business to me or to a larger business, even kind of to a lot of my clients. Even I talk about my corporate experience because that is where I learned and cut my teeth in digital marketing. And I think, that has a lot of weight to be openly say, what, I'm not going to say I'm this dreamer, this huge entrepreneur who has, kind of on my own boss and all of that kind of stuff. I have done the hard work, going into an office, working with clients, the face to work, all of that has allowed me to be who I am today, right? And I wear that with a badge of honor. Some people say, what, you don't need it, especially those younger folks, who are like, yes, you can become a consultant and make money, you don't need a degree and all of that. I've got a degree and I'm very proud of my degree, and I think people, especially business owners, they need to be wary of who they bring on as a consultant. Are they bringing on someone who knows how to say nice words and is going to follow a textbooks to apply systems, or are they going to hire someone who is a heavy hitter, who has done it before, even in a corporate environment and setting, who can very quickly and efficiently deliver the results that I'm looking for?
Yeah, 100%. And I see this as well within the people that I talk to, and in what I have done. I've been coming from corporate as well, and it's a completely different world, completely different. If you've never been into corporate, it's hard to imagine how it would look like if especially the kids these days only knowing the digital world, how it would be in a large corporate. But it gives you a lot of more insight and a lot of more, I wouldn't say strength, but more like
perspective. I would say your perspective is much better. Yeah.
Because in the end, if you think about it, if you're building a business, right, and if you're really serious about building it and scaling it and hiring people, you're actually, if you're doing it really well, you're actually creating a corporate business, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it doesn't start off like you can stay small. I don't say that you need to build a corporate, but you have to have at least some of a goal that reaches towards that kind
You're building yourself a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah, and that's where they go wrong as well, because they stay stuck. I had a business owner talking to me. I quit my 9-to-5 job, and now I'm in a situation where it's actually worse than in the 9-to-5 job, because I had to do a lot more, and I don't know how to deal with that. So there's a lot to say about both worlds, but having that experience helps us a lot for sure, to make sure that they don't make the mistakes that you see a lot of people making around you. Abul, what would you say is growth for you?
Oh, that's interesting. I think that's a very interesting question. I think growth is a journey, not a destination. I think growth is all about kind of taking small steps and reaping the compound benefits of those small steps. And you can never stop growing, whether it's in business or as an individual or in your own development. I think people, when I see people get stuck, it's usually because they feel like they have arrived and they have made it. And once they feel like they have made it and they get complacent, that is when growth stops. They stop their personal growth, and that seeps through into their business. They think, I have a model that is working. Don't fix that is not broken. And that is completely the opposite of an agile way of working, where you're seeking continuous growth, where you're looking to test and learn. Another key thing about growth is being open to testing and learning, giving things a chance. At the end of the day, there's so much calculations that you can do up here, but the reality is going to be totally different to the summary you arrive here, because the factors are very different. You cannot calculate an outcome in your head without actually taking the steps, and this is what Agile allows you to do in a way where you can mitigate the risk and not put your whole house on the line. You are taking steps in a calculated manner, where even if something goes wrong, okay, you might get a little bit of a setback, but that setback is not going to financially ruin you. It might have ruined a week of time, a week of productivity, or something like that, but at least it's shown you how not to do something. And that is something that you can only get, that experience and that knowledge and those insights you're going to get through execution, not through calculation.
Awesome. I love that. Great. Abul, thanks for your time. Where can people find you?
Well, you can find me on Facebook, Abul K. Hussain, or if you're in the agency space and you are not, at a place where you've got your full team set up yet, where you need Stefan to come in, but you need to grow your revenue and you need someone to help you with your prospecting processes, join our Facebook group. You can go to SMMA Mastermind.com, and that will redirect you to the group, or just find you on Facebook. Or, I'm on Facebook at facebook.com/meet Abul Hussain. That's one word. And that's the best place to network with me. I'm on LinkedIn, but I don't use it that much here. I just use it here and there for business. But if you want to find out more, join our group, have a particular question about how you can grow your revenue or fix your prospecting systems, find me on Facebook.
Yeah, and I can add to that it is indeed a good group to be at, the SMMA Mastermind group. Good value there, good conversations. You don't find that so easily sometimes if you look at other groups where there's a lot of those so-called experts. Yeah, but it's a great way to connect with other people. And I love these conversations with you, Abul, about Agile for sure, and teaching people how to do it. So let's connect again. Let's do this again another time about a specific topic then. But yeah, it's great to have you, my man.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much, Stefan.
Thank you, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.